What games are we most interested in seeing for Michigan State in 2024? It's Kevin Grech of the Can't Read, Can't Write podcast to talk about that and play a little true or false. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Folks, on the other end of this call, we got the one, the only Kevin Grech. He is 1/3 of the fantastic podcast, Can't Read, Can't Write. And then over here on my end, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm still locked up in a American Girl accessories closet here. I've got tea party stuff ready to go. If you're listening on the podcast, this makes no sense, but I'm still in the in-laws basement right now. With that said, Kevin, looks like you're doing okay over there. You're in a pretty good situation. Life good on your end?
I'm doing great. Yeah. What's in my background over here? We've got a little Detroit Red Wings thing. We've got a couple books. We've got some, but it's not a tea set. It's not various different American Girl hats. I mean, you're putting me to shame in terms of the background right now. What do we got? What are we working on?
We'll get into this later. This is Groovy Girls Sleepover Club. I have no idea if that's a game. Action figures.
I'm gonna need to borrow that. I'm gonna need that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. You can actually do the podcast. I'm gonna go on eBay and and buy my own copy of Groovy Gals Furniture Club or whatever that was.
Yeah, sure.
Because I just can't be without it. Now that I know that it exists, I can't be without it. So
we'll see if we actually play this game in the third segment. I don't know. We'll see how the show goes. I like to think we have enough prepped, but who's to say, Kevin? But no, here is the prep that we did do. I texted you yesterday. All right, what are the 3 Michigan State games you are most interested in for 2024? Obviously, we're interested in all 12 games. We're going to watch all 12 games like the suckers we are, no matter how good or how bad the season goes. We all know this about ourselves. We are mentally unwell individuals. But let's say you had a really bizarre, weird prison sentence where they just gave you a television 3 times in the fall. Like, what are the 3 games that you just have to watch? Interpret that any way you want. Let's work at number 1, though. Let's just give the people the hot content immediately. Let's come out swinging, Kevin.
Right out the gates.
Right out the gate. No foreplay or anything. We're just absolutely going for it here. What is the number 1 game you're most interested in for your Michigan State Spartans this upcoming fall?
So, do you want me to answer this? I was planning on us going in the alternate order. So you just threw me for a
curveball.
I've got 2 options here. I can answer that with the head, or I can answer that with the heart. And if I'm answering it with the heart, these are back-to-back games. It's the Michigan game. Obviously, the Michigan game is always the benchmark. These are 2 programs, brand new head coaches. Obviously, one has a little bit more turmoil than the other right now because of the circumstances. And then that I'm talking about Michigan. Of course, that's what I was referencing there. So that's always the game that I'm keeping an eye on. That's the benchmark. We need to beat that team. But if I'm answering with my head, with my brain, it's actually the previous week that I think is more relevant. That's Iowa at home, coming off of a bye week. That's a program that we have the opportunity to show there's no Big Ten West anymore. There's nowhere for you to hide. This is a team that we very nearly beat last year. If it wasn't for Noah Kim hijinks, I think quarterback related things are going to come up over the course of this conversation. I believe in the last episode, you told one, if my notes are correct, Aiden Childs is the next JT Barrett. I believe I have you quoted as saying that.
JT Barrett will be the poor man's Aiden Childs. It was the
That's what it was.
Quote, right.
That's what it was. Okay.
And worst case scenario, he would be like a Deshaun Watson, sort of thing. Like that's kind of where we level set it yesterday. So yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. So thank you.
I appreciate it. We had a shot. If it wasn't, kicker Kim was outscoring quarterback Kim, and ultimately that cost us the game. But now in Spartan Stadium on a bye week, they have a brand new OC. I know the defense will be stout as it always is, But that is the game that I have circled number one. What about yours?
That's my number one and number two as well. It's number one is if I had to just watch one game, it's probably the Iowa game, because that's a game that Michigan State right now, as things stand right now, June 4th, middle of the afternoon on Tuesday, that's a game that Michigan State isn't supposed to win. They're not projected to win this game. I think S&P Plus has it as a double-digit point spread for that game. Now, could it be creeping closer to a 4-point spread when the game kicks off? Sure. But in year one, can you win one of these games that you're quote unquote not supposed to? And it's a good measuring stick test, right? Because, hey, I know Iowa's got the new offensive coordinator. I know it's quite literally impossible to do any worse than they have done the last few years, but still will not be a flashy offense. Can our defense shore up enough of their shortcomings in the last few years to actually get stuff done, to make this a close game? And then on the opposite end of the measuring stick spectrum, okay, that's going to be a really stout defense. I'm pretty high on Aiden Childs. I like Brian Lindgren. I like Jonathan Smith. But can this offense do enough to win the race to 20 points, which in many Iowa games, Kevin, as you know, as a lot of listeners know, race to 20 is all you need to do, man. That's kind of the measuring stick. And if I could just pull in a third measuring stick here, and this is kind of, weighing it with the last regime and how things are going to go this year.
You could probably reach back and literally grab a measuring stick behind you, by the way, if you want to pull a third one in.
You know what? My God, I probably could right now. There's a Hot Wheels track that's about 2 feet tall. That's the closest we can get right now. We had a good listener question yesterday, and it was about the gauntlet in October. It was about Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, Michigan. And not only can we make those teams sweat, but what do we have to do to make them sweat? And I left off this part of the answer. I read right over to my notes. I felt horrible about it. But last year against Iowa, not only was the offense just absolutely anemic, 10 penalties. Just pointing the revolver directly at both feet and shooting all 10 rounds, one into each toe. Can you play a clean game? Now, obviously, that's going to be the 7th game of the season, I believe. Hopefully, we can see shades of a more disciplined team leading up to that point. But in those kind of games where, okay, it's going to be razor-thin margins to see if you can beat a team that you're not supposed to beat, limiting the penalties and just playing, get ready for this one, smart, could be a good idea here, Kevin. So just fascinated to see that Iowa game for so many reasons. I mean, and Kevin, according to Brett McMurphy of the Action Network, he says that NBC has that game as their destination primetime game for that week. Homecoming game under the lights. Your thoughts on a under the lights game for homecoming? Are you yay or nay?
I always hate being the homecoming team because of what it implies about our program.
Sure.
However, you get to be ultimate spoiler. And if I can make a whole fan base upset, a whole city, a whole state, I don't know what it is down in Iowa, make them really feel it, it's like a little bonus twist of the knife. And I am that spiteful a dude that I relish those opportunities. So I'll take it. I don't love it just as it's basically Iowa saying, we had a pretty good shot at this one, but I'll take the opportunity. That's a little chip. Maybe Mark D will show up for that one, prowl the sidelines, remind everyone, little disrespect for you. And it might just be the difference. We'll find out.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so I got a game I'm still most interested in seeing. You got one, but first, Kevin, I hate to do this to such an esteemed guest, but I got to send you to the bench because it's time to talk to people's ears off about Gametime, the #1 ticketing app out there, folks. We got some Tigers home games coming up in the near future. If you plan on going down to Comerica Park and seeing the offense try to score 2 runs in a given night, well, go ahead and hop on Gametime. Let's say that you know you're going to go to a game, concert, sporting event, comedy show, whatever has a ticket. Let's say you know you're going a few days in advance. You're a planner. Well, open up your phone, open up the app. You're going to be seeing flash deals throughout the week for great seats in great locations. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's say that you don't even know that you're going to this game until 15 minutes before first pitch. Well, hey, the last-minute ticket deals on Gametime are second to none. Gametime is always looking at ways to save you money, and they're so upfront, they don't surprise you with fees at the very end. It is so simple with Gametime. And hey, saving money right off the bat is also easy, guys. Because when you download the Gametime app, create an account, Smash in promo code Locked On College. That's all one word, Locked On College, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. It's last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Kevin Grech of Can't Read, Can't Write. We're still doing this prison sentence. You already burnt up the television for 2 rec hours. You wanted the Iowa game, and then you wanted the Michigan game, and I agree with you on that. I want to see the measuring stick. Okay, just how close is that gap in the rivalry? I think I don't got to go any further with the explanation there. Fascinated, though, with your third game, if you're only to be able to watch one more game, because I got to say the other 10 games, great candidates, even if it's Prairie View A&M, and you just want to see a cathartic 80-4 win. I don't know how they got 4, but nevertheless.
You might not need to buy the NCAA football game. Like, you might be living it for that one, basically. We will see that in real life. And I've got reasons to pick all of these. One that I really wanted to call out was Indiana at the end of the season, not just because Fork's down. I mean, Fork's down today, it's down forever. But they've got a new coach. Coach Sig's coming to town. He's bringing Andrew DePepe. But that game could start to represent an upward swing. We got 4 games at the end of the year, very winnable block. So that would be my second one. But my third choice actually would be at Maryland. I know everyone's talking at Boston College. I know that everyone's all excited about it. They've got Bill O'Brien. We're going to Chestnut Hill, all that stuff. But I think the unfortunate reality of the situation is Maryland has won 2 in a row. They won 31-9 last year, but Baby 2 is not walking through that door. They've got a little bit. I know you run a family show over here, Matt Sheehan, but I'm going to say bad word, that phrase. They've got a bit of a quarterback competition, which I know no MSU fan wants to hear quarterback competition, but Maryland's the one dealing with it this time. They split on the spring game between 3 guys. None of them played particularly well. But Mike Loxley's now what? He's like the 4th head coach in the Big Ten now, or something like that. Maybe 2nd. Like, I don't know. They were only 4-5 in conference last year, but they are. You talked about measuring sticks. They're that stick that you've got to clear in this conference to get back to where you're supposed to be. And to me, that means more than like a fun, exciting conference game against Boston College. And it sounds like you agree with that.
I don't even know why I hopped on this call. You could have done the whole podcast, because that's the same top 3 I had: Iowa, Michigan, Maryland. Maybe this wasn't a good second idea if they were just obvious answers, but it's for everything you just said. I mean, Maryland beats you once. Okay. Hey, you know what? That happens. Okay. They do it 2 times in a row. Now this is a consistent theme. If it happens 3 times in a row, then you're officially slotted behind Maryland in the pecking order, right? Even, just despite the turmoil of last year, despite year 1 of Jonathan Smith in a rebuild, or whatever you guys want to call it out there, like that means that, the Terrapins are now officially, indisputably ahead of you if you lose 3 in a row, especially, Kevin, with what you just said. Tua Light ain't walking through that tunnel, baby. Thank God. No. So that's nice. But 3 for 3 right there. You're the MVP so far. That's what I'm talking about, man. Look at you.
Well, I asked my co-hosts what they thought about this question, and they were like, smart. Sheehan, great guy.
Okay. Thank you.
But Alex Plum, listener guest on my podcast. So this is like listener guest by extension for you. Called out Oregon game. Do you want to guess why? This sort of leads us into our next segment.
I need an explanation. Need one.
Oregon game, because Alex Plum wants to see Jonathan Smith in an in-state rivalry, and he wants to see that hatred. If he's got it, if he understands. Because that's how Alex Plum evaluates games. Does my coach have the same visceral hatred for in-state rivals that I do? I want to see it on the field in that Oregon game. So that's just putting a note out there as another game to potentially watch from your prison cell when you're doing push-ups or whatever it is that you're going on.
World's weirdest sentence. I love that. Because I was thinking okay, what could make the Oregon and Ohio State game interesting? Because go green until I die. Whoa, that's gonna be a tough one. I am interested to see if we can keep it closer than 36-4 against Ohio State. And I say those two specific numbers because I barked the stat out yesterday. The last 4 years we've played Ohio State, that is the average first half score against the Buckeyes. Even in that incredible 2021 year, we all know what happened when we faced them. It was bloodshed everywhere. It was we were running the gauntlet there. But if we could just keep it somewhat respectable. This is loser talk. This sounds like just moral victory podcasting, but I'm a loser. Like it would be a moral victory if we could just keep it within 21 points in the first half, Kevin. How about that?
It'd be nice. It'd be nice. First time since what? That would be the Big Ten championship game when we beat them, or no? The following
2016 was spicy. Yeah, that
Tyler
was
O'Connor year.
Yeah,
we're talking about the windmill. Man, it's been a long time since that happened.
I don't know
which reunion. This is the 17-18 reunion. It's before that. So we need some sign of life against Ohio State. But first, Iowa, Maryland, etc.
Make me watch a second quarter where I could tell myself, all right, if we get a stop, a score, and then another stop, I will start believing. Like, just give me that. Like, just give me
some ray of hope. Just a little bit. Just something.
Yeah. All right. We're going to switch sports here. Not for long. Just for a second, because we're going to do this. It's a real high-level segment. Put a lot of thought into it. It's called True or False, Kevin. I'm going to give you a statement. Try to follow along, everyone. I'm going to say a statement. Kevin, you're going to say true or false. And if you're ever so inclined, you can state your reasons as to why. But we're going to switch sports just for a hot second. I will timestamp this. It is Tuesday, June 4th, 2:35 p.m. So if this happens like an hour or 2 hours after we're recording, great. The Locked On Spartans jinx struck once again. But Kevin, number one, true or false, Tom Izzo has just forgotten about his vacancy at assistant coach. Like he has just, he is on the golf course right now. He's at the lake house on Lake Michigan, and he has just forgotten about that. Hey, we've got a vacancy for that third assistant coach role. True or false?
I'm gonna say that this is false, actually.
Okay.
And actually what's going on is he's already decided. I've had so much great experience and success leaving open spots open, whether it's on my roster or whether it's giving Davis Smith a scholarship because Steve needed the cash or whatever. He's had such success with this that he's like, you know what? I don't need that coach. No, I'll do the scouts. I'll do all of it. Forget it. Who needs it? I'm going to just fill that role, or we'll have Stevie do it part-time or something like that. No, I think he's already decided we're just moving on. This is a distraction, and I want to be focused on whatever it is, going to camps, helping Frankie Fiddler move in or whatever he's doing right now. It can't possibly be that it's taking this long. Like truly, he's not considering that diverse a group of potential options. What could it be, Matt? What could it possibly be?
If anyone can comment below on YouTube right now, your answer will be better than mine, because it is down to two people, like per all the reports and the rumors, whatever you want to call it, between Chris Fowler, who's an assistant at Western Michigan right now, and then Mr. Washington, the old assistant at the University of Michigan. How could he? Anyway, that'll be a different discussion if he does join. I personally would love that hire. Let's not get it twisted. But for these two guys, like this has got to be torture for these two guys, right? Like they have lives, I think.
Are they paper, rock, scissoring for it? And they just keep tying and tying and tying over and over and over again? Like what possible reason is there for how long this has gone?
He's got them on some amazing race chase for the finish line of San Antonio, which I believe is the next Final Four destination. But like it's just an intricate 30-day relay race that he has both these guys settled on, and the first one to send a selfie from the Alamo gets the job. So yeah, I think that's what we got going on right now. How about that for some high-level, in-depth analysis as to what on earth was going on with this assistant coach? I like to think the interview, there came a portion for all the candidates that said, you know what, NIL and transfer portal, like what would you guys do differently? And if the answer was anything but nothing, we run into the grind, not away from it, NIL is for losers, then like they were just shown the door immediately.
Disqualified. No, get out. Not going to happen. Nope.
Great. Second true or false question, Kevin. Now we're going to swing back to football here. It's recruiting season, official visit season per Rivals. And things are, of course, always subject to change. Like last week, 4-star receiver Jeff Exeter, 2 days before it came out that he was not going to be visiting. So, of course, things are always fluid with official visits. But as of right now, for the month of June, 7 total 4-star visitors are slated to come to Michigan State. Of course, the rest are 3 stars. Of course, like on my end, I'm personally feeling comfortable with how recruiting is going right now, but this is a wide swing of the pendulum from where we were in the years past, where it was like 284 stars were visiting.
Yeah.
True or false, Kevin? You trust the recruiting vision early on so far in Jonathan Smith's tenure at Michigan State?
I trust the vision. I don't know that I trust that we're going to get the results in year one, but I do trust the vision. Like I trust the staff to make its evaluations, to bring in guys that they think that they can actually get. But there's not a body of work yet that you can point to outside of what's happened at Oregon State, which is compelling. I will say that. But sure. I think recruits are going to need to see things start to kind of roll here in East Lansing first. So I think maybe in 2 or 3 years after some success, maybe you get half of those guys. This year, maybe we get 1 or 2 of those 4-star guys. That's just my perspective on this. What do you think about this, Matt?
I kind of with it too. You need to get the ball rolling. Like winning solves many problems in life, specifically in college athletics, Kevin. That's the old adage. So I do wonder if it's like 7, like a low number, quote unquote, because like, okay, well, Michigan State's got to prove themselves. Or is it, okay, it's 7 because these are actually 7 guys that we actually feel like we have a realistic shot of getting. And it's not to say that the last staff invited all these kids thinking that they didn't have any shot, whatever. It's just, I think it's been well documented, and you can point to a lot of pieces of evidence is that they weren't always truly in the top 3 for a lot of these kids, and they were taken for a ride by a good amount of these kids. So is it because, okay, this is realistic, or is it because that, okay, 4 stars are going elsewhere? Because let's be honest, like Michigan State has some work to do. Yeah. Maybe it's a cocktail of both. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But as things stand right now, I do like the way that Smith is recruiting. I've said it many a times. It's not like a broken record, but like he's laying the foundation early in his class right now, getting those kids that are rated like, what was it, the 300 to 800 range, the bedrock kids, right? Because here at Michigan State, you're not always going to get a class with 16 4-stars. You do need those foundational 3 stars. The kids that the last staff kind of neglected here, whether it was the June visits or, pick your month in the calendar. That's when they kind of neglected them until it was a week before signing day, and they're like, uh-oh.
And they were like, okay.
Is that 9 kids in our recruiting class right now? Huh? Maybe we should call some of the kids that aren't. Anyway, but again, I've said it many times. Right now, I'm comfortable with it. I don't think that this is sustainable long term, but I do like how things are going for the first full cycle of recruiting class right now, which I think we could all agree on that. That's a contentious point with a lot of fans right now. I mean, people are on opposite ends of the spectrum. People need the 4 and 5 stars. Fair. But people also, think like, no, you know what? Screw 4 stars. We're all about developmental. There's got to be a marriage of both. I think. I don't know.
And fans, I think, are right to be a little bit nervous. I mean, I think we were the last Big Ten team to take a verbal commitment for this class that's going right now. So it's keeping an eye on it for sure.
Have you been keeping an eye on baseball, Kevin? Because I know we don't do a lot of hardball talk on here, but just curious, dude.
I've been trying to put myself in that prison where I can't watch baseball because my word. Now, to be completely honest with you, I have not kept up with it over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. What's going on? Educate me, Matt Sheehan.
Well, not a lot has been going on for the program in the last week or 2 weeks, too, because their season had another early end of their season. Now, this was a mailbag question. This is from Ray. Ray, always writing in great questions. He says, number 1, is it time to give Jake Boss a gold watch? So that will be the true or false. It is time for the athletic department to part ways with long-tenured baseball coach Jake Boss. Now, we will give him his flowers really quick. This isn't going to be just to absolutely defecate on this guy. We'll point out some good numbers here. He's one of 3 coaches at Michigan State history to win 400 games. He has 416 wins. That is the most in a 15-year span in program history. 5 of the 10 most winningest seasons at Michigan State have come under him. However, really quick before I let you talk out, I'm sorry. This isn't necessarily a Tom Izzo thing, Like it's not like he's got College World Series berths draped or Big Ten tournament banners hanging all over the place, and he can go out on his own terms, no matter how rocky it gets at the end here. Like they've made 2 of the last 6 Big Ten tournaments, and their last second round in the Big Ten tournament was 2016. Look, I don't expect everyone to get fired up and passionate about baseball, but to paraphrase from Alan Haller, we don't want our non-revenue sports to just merely exist. We want them to have a purpose. He's touched many other sports for the better. It's time for Jake Boss to enjoy perhaps a lake house in Lake Michigan, I guess, could be a good retirement gift. Seems lofty, but...
Yeah. Lake house in Lake Michigan. I guess that's a place to do it.
Now we're talking. Yep.
This is a truth. Like, this is a very obvious truth. The program just needs to move on at this point. There needs to be a mutual parting, because if we've seen anything over the last several years, whether it's, gymnastics, whether it's golf, whether it's men's tennis recently, whether it's what we've seen with the resurgence of hockey, is that this is an athletic department that can have success in those other areas. Even in gymnastics, which is a sport that you would have thought might just be dead forever because of the history there. Here we are hosting the Big Ten tournament, winning it. Then, fans are walking across the street over to Mana Ice Arena to watch the hockey team win the Big Ten tournament as well. So we've proven that this is an athletic department that can support those other teams, which, Matt, you and I know have been neglected for so long. But part of that is, unfortunately, separating from coaches that haven't been getting it done. Point at women's soccer is a place where there was like an institutional coach for decades. Change was made. Gold watch, nice engraving on the back was handed out. But now look at it. Like, it's a program very clearly on the rise and making noise in the NCAA tournament. So I think that same model needs to apply for baseball as well.
Engraved 416 on the back, the number of wins he got. Look, I hate to just get on here and just call for a man's job, but look, Alan Haller's doing a great job. He just had that great in-depth piece with Graham Couch, talked about a whole lot. Let's keep this ball rolling then. Kevin, we got one more mailbag question. We're gonna make a true or false out of this, but also hey, would you look at this? Groovy Girls Sleepover Club has made an appearance. We're going to do a little bit of puppet showing here. So if you're on the podcast, you're missing out on this. But okay, right here is going to be our mailbag question writer. This is Drew. Sorry, Drew, you got long hair right now. So right here, and this is you, Kevin. This is Michigan State fan Kevin right here.
Yes. Okay.
I just graduated from MSU, and I'm looking to go to grad school. Unfortunately, MSU doesn't have a graduate program in the niche sector that I'm looking to get into, but U of M does. The company I accepted the job for agreed to help pay for me to go there, and I have family in Ann Arbor, so I can live rent-free. I'm a Spartan through and through, and I'm trying to figure out if this makes me a turncloak. I would still root for MSU 100%, but would it make me a traitor if I went to tailgates for U of M games with any friends that I would make, even if I secretly prey on their downfall? I personally feel like it wouldn't be bad unless I bought U of M gear or openly rooted for them. Let me know what you think. So let me get over here. Kevin, true or false? I'm a traitor if I go to U of M grad school as an MSU undergrad.
Okay. So can you do me a favor, Matt? Can you take the right hand of my little dolly guy and place it on the shoulder of our Twitter questioner here?
Yeah, right here. Yep.
This is a conversation that we have on our podcast, Can't Read, Can't Write, every once in a while. And the point that I've always made is, if you're a U of M fan at MSU, you're a traitor. Like, there's nothing, if you're an actual MSU student, but you root for U of M, I've got nothing to say to you. I can't trust your judgment. I can't trust you as a human being. You're written off. But if you keep your MSU bona fides and then you go to U of M, you're a freedom fighter trying to take down a corrupt institution from the inside. And I think you should take this opportunity. One of the beautiful things about grad school is that you don't have to do all the undergrad stuff. You're going to be in a program with tons of people that didn't go to U of M. They won't care about it. They're just there for school. Take the opportunity and take down that corrupt institution from the inside. That would be my advice to you.
All right, I think that's going to make yeah, big hug, big hug for the Groovy Girl Sleepover Club here.
Big Groovy Girl hug.
Yeah, big time. All right, well, that concludes the first, probably the only Groovy Girl segment here on Locked on Spartans. You want June content from your college sports podcast? There it is right there. I agree. Like, look, I mean, he just says it right there. Like, he's not going to buy any gear. He's still going to root against their downfall. Yeah. I mean, your heart is where undergrad is more times than not. Obviously, not speaking from experience, you could not pay me to go back to school. But for the people that I know, I do know a good amount of people that have gone to Michigan State for undergrad and then Michigan for their postgrad, and they are diehard Michigan State fans. Vice versa, too. It happens. So, yeah, as long as you weren't singing Hail to the Victors at the tailgates or, you kind of do a fist bump after they beat Ohio State, like you're fine. You are okay. Go ahead and do what they call better your life, apparently, and go thrive.
Get that free tuition dollars from your employer anytime you can do that. Anytime they're willing to pick up the tab for that, and then you can just go, okay, thank you. And after 2 years, hit the road and like greatly improve your hireability, your in the future. Do that. Take that opportunity, even if it's with that school.
Yeah, and like I'll say this. I'm actually going to edit this out, but just for sake of conversation, like
just you and me, just here.
It's a good grad degree to have. I'm sure like pretty good school as far as I'm concerned, academic wise. Everything else scumbags, but it's good for you. Good for you, Drew. Way to stunt on them. Let's go. All right, Kevin, that was it. That's all we got, man. Thanks for playing Groovy Girls with me. That was a lot of fun. Did not think I'd be playing Dollhouse with someone today, but hey, Locked on Spartans, we got to keep everyone on their toes.
And we're all better for it.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Folks, we will be back later on. Al Karsten, back by popular demand, he will be joining us. It's going to be a certified hoot and a half, but until then, hey, love you all. Go Green.